What up, guys? How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I'm doing pretty good. I'm chilling. Just, getting ready to have an amazing coaching session for some 3v3. It's going to be great. How long have you guys all played Circa for?
We played back in 2010 for about a year or two, and then dropped off for a while, and then started again about a year ago.
Okay. So yeah, you guys are old school and then recently returning. That's cool.
Pretty much, yeah. I didn't play too much back in the day. It was more of a, I used to play a little.
Yeah.
I think I was surprised when I was like, oh yeah, you make multiple barracks? Like,
Yeah, oh, yeah, right? You're like, oh, you can make more than one building? Sure.
Yeah, exactly. Well, back in the day in Brood War, Archon, basically macro, he just...
Namon, your mic is cutting out a lot when you talk. Maybe,
Gotcha.
just either put it closer to your face or just maybe turn your sensitivity down so it picks up more.
Is this any better?
Yeah, that sounds better. But when you were talking a second ago, I was only hearing about like a third of what you were saying.
Gotcha. If it becomes a problem, I'll switch to talk.
Sure.
That'll help. But yeah, I was just saying that back in the day, Jeremy and I would basically do Archon mode. Think about it. That was a long before Beta GM.
Yeah. Warcraft 3 has a similar thing where that I remember, where like it was just not efficient to like build more than one building. You just like, or of like each type, you would just make the one because like you wouldn't even have enough money to make units constantly. You just like stop making units half the time, anyways. But just
real quick, did you give Ultragoat the permission? He's not able to talk yet.
You have a fourth person? Or
no, a third person.
No, he's sorry. You said Ultragoat. Yeah, he's got permission. He should be able to talk.
Okay.
So if you can't talk, I don't know how familiar all you guys are with Discord, but make sure in your user settings your microphone is connected to the right output source on your settings. If you don't know how to do that, I can give you a little example on stream. But it's just the gear for you. Or you're gonna say, or go ahead.
I was gonna say we can maybe go ahead and get started, and then we'll try and see. I was gonna go and upload a couple of matches for us to talk about and go through.
Let's do it. I'm totally ready. Just send it to me either in like any channel's fine. Send it in the SC2 replays channel on Discord, and we can just get it going.
I have the files. Oh, let me see.
You don't have to email it to me. You can just drag and drop it in Discord. It'll go faster.
Okay.
But if emailing makes you more comfortable, that's fine too. I don't really care either way. But if you do drop it in Discord, just let me know what channel you put it in, because there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
And SC2 replays probably.
What's the best way to add it? Upload a file. There it is.
Yep. You just drag it, drop it in the chat, and then hit enter, and it'll send it through. There you go. I see them. Which one would you rather me start on, the vibe or the coaching vibe? It's like
game one. So so vibe for the first one, and then coaching vibe for the second one.
Okay, sure. And then just to make it easier, you guys should be able to see my Discord stream. I 100% recommend you watch this over the actual stream on Twitch, because there's going to be delay with stream on Twitch. But if you watch the Discord one, the way you do it is you can see the live button next to my name. You just click my name and you can say start watching. You can see in real time what I'm looking at in the game from my perspective. So it'll be way easier for you guys to follow along with what I'm doing. And this would be a lot easier than you guys being in the game with me and just watching it on StarCraft, because you can actually see what I'm talking about rather than me having to preface everything I'm talking about. If that makes sense? Like, oh, the natural. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You guys, I mean, if you guys want to do on StarCraft,
Yeah, I
you
was just
totally
saying,
can. Okay, sure. I just wasn't sure if you. Are you guys comfortable with that? Are you guys good?
This is good.
Okay. All right. So, at any point, I'll just start going because I know you guys are pressed for time here, so I don't want to waste your time. But at any point, if you have a question, fucking interrupt me. It's totally cool. I don't care. It does not bother me. Just make sure you get your questions answered because I know you're gonna have some. And I'll just start cranking away here on like I'm not literally just gonna spew shit constantly and tell you guys what I think you should be doing the whole time. And then there'll be a VOD afterwards as well. So if I go really fast, don't worry. Later on, you can go back and watch this as many times as you want, and you can always pause it and rewatch it and everything like that. Give me one quick word here really fast. What league are the three of you in? Just really quickly so I have an idea what we're talking about here.
Diamond 3.
Nice.
Platinum 3, and I'd say Platinum for Ultra Code.
Okay, so
who he's listening. He's not able to talk right now, but he's listening.
Okay.
And he's able to see it.
Sure. Okay, so you got a diamond and a couple plats. That's totally fine. And the diamond player was Nanwan, who is the Protoss. So you got a Plat Zerg, Plat Protoss, Diamond Protoss. All right. Let's look at your guys' perspectives here. So first things first, a map like this, automatically, I would agree with what you guys are doing. You have both Protosses setting up walls. There's only 2 entrances to your base. You guys are already doing it properly. The way you guys are having the idea to take all of your fucking bases at once and protect each other, automatically, you guys already are doing it correctly. So composite or architecturally, you guys are playing correctly. The only problem I would say is, so team games can be a little bit different. Okay, if you guys are gonna do something like this, I would recommend, just because this map is crazy large, and team maps in general are usually really large, instead of waiting for your first probe to build and then send it out, just send one of your first 12 probes off the middle line, like right now, to where you're going to build it, and then build a probe anyways. But instead of rallying the probe to where you're going to build, rally it to the middle line. So you would just send a probe early, because what that'll do for you is it'll make you make your first pylon at your wall instead of your second pylon. And that's a big deal in case your opponents want to fucking proxy cheese you. Because you'll have no idea if these guys ran into your base immediately and you waited until your second probe and your second pylon to start the wall at your base. Number one, all of your tech is going to be super delayed at like defending yourself. And number two, you actually might not catch someone who runs in your base because you're going to be getting there late. So the way Nanwan's doing it, perfect. I love that. The way Pyramid's doing it as well, but you build a pylon. This is your, we'll see what you, yeah, you go back and build a pylon. So definitely don't do that in the future. The way Nanwan's doing it is perfect. Definitely do that for both of you in the future. That way you're not late and delayed. Because now your pylon's going to be super late at actually building the stuff at the wall, and you're going to have to cut probes to afford it otherwise. And definitely, I would say both of you need to make sure you're building your tech at the wall. Because again, if you get proxied, you're going to have a problem if you don't have your stuff at the wall. And I feel like you guys probably get proxied a lot because it's team games, and if you don't, I'm surprised, because team games definitely are pretty cheesy. Pyramid, another tip?
Definitely.
Or sorry, go ahead.
Agreed. We get proxied.
Yeah, no, it's gonna happen at the end, right?
A lot of problems.
Yeah, team games is cheesy shit. Pyramid, tip for you again. Definitely make sure you build your tech on the front of the pylon, not the back of the pylon. This pylon is super exposed now, so definitely do it try to do it the way Nanwan's doing it. Nanwan's doing it really well here. Yeah, it's definitely gonna bite you in the ass later.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Nanwan, I like your build so far. Zerg, Ultra Goat, your build is also fine. Pyramid, your build is a bit funky. So, in general, we'll get to this point in a second here. I kind of want to see how you guys develop as a team, but in general, you guys kind of need to also develop like a team synergy. All right. like you guys need to have like roles assigned to each one of you that are going to help you like identify what you should be doing in the game at what point in time. And so far, UltraGoat has complete access to doing whatever he wants economically. That you guys have literally walled off both your walls, so that makes it super easy for the Zerg player to be as greedy as he wants to be. But you know, you guys, again, we'll see what you guys want to do. But Pyramid, you're putting yourself already in a position where the only way your build would make sense is if you attacked. Like, if you're not going to all in or be very aggressive with adepts or something, your build doesn't make any sense. And the reason why is because you're opening up with multiple gateways and a core before you even expanded. So you guys are both walling off or like setting up a defensive wall to get into your base, which is a super defensive posture. But now you're doing it in a way where you're getting all your tech and you're making multiple production facilities as well, rather than maximizing why defensive play makes sense, which is expanding, like Nan1's doing. So you're kind of fucking yourself over if you're going to play defensive here.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, and you're making a zealot as well. This is definitely
You'll see
expensive.
later on how it's gonna bite me.
You're making multiple zealots. Yeah. This is so expensive. This is, yeah. You have way too much. You are literally putting yourself. You are so far behind. I can't begin to just. I want to use a lot of profanity right now, but I'm not going to because there's probably children watching. You are so far behind now by making 3 zealots, 2 gates, and a core, and you've also cut probes. This is rough. Nan1, your build overall, good shit. You have your core at the natural. You also made a zealot though. Honestly, guys, I'm not a fan of your zealots. Stop making zealots. The only time you should ever make a zealot is if you scout, your opponents are literally proxying you, and like it's gonna be pretty obvious because you're gonna be like, okay, guys, there's some shit right here in front of my base, and I need to have something to deal with that right now. If that's the case, you can totally make a zealot. But if you're just...
Yeah, I forget if we scouted a 12 pull or not. I know the timings are all weird because the map is big, but I vaguely recall worrying about early... Whether it was because we saw it or just out of fear. I remember thinking, oh, there might have been a 12 pull.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to ask you a question. Do any of you guys know when a 12 pull hits your base? Time-wise. Because if you don't, I'll tell you right now, okay? Or go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, the impression I have is that if that was a 12 pull, I needed to chrono boost myself.
Sure, but I mean that's panicking. What you're doing right now is definitely panicking. You're like, oh, he might be doing some shit, because this is what I'm trying to tell you. The only way you should ever actually give a shit about a 12 pull is if you're gonna scout across the map after your pylon, because if you assumed a 12 pull was gonna maybe happen right now, a pull would have been done a minute ago in this game, and it would already be hitting you. So like this is zealot. 100% is, I feel like, a panic zealot, because you haven't confirmed, none of you have confirmed anything yet, and a 12 pull would have been done, like I said, a long time ago. So if you guys wanted to scout for like someone who does 12 pull or do some shit like that, you would need to scout off of pylon and then have a second probe come down and like build your gate and things like that, which if you really want to do that, I'm not going to argue with you. That's totally fine. You can totally do that. But also on a map, like a team map like this, if the guy does 12 pull you, it's such a large map. Team maps in general are fucking huge. So you guys are more than capable as well of just chrono boosting out a stalker or an adept, as long as you don't delay your core super heavily, which, I mean, you didn't this game, so that was good. You'd be like, the zealot is terrible.
Gotcha. Totally
And it's so, I'm trying to describe how bad it is, and it's so bad. It just puts you guys all behind. You'd only ever want it if like the dude is like in your face, and it's like you need it now because he's like attacking your base right now, and you're like, fuck, I have nothing, I need to make a zealot. But yeah, panic zealots are just never good for you. All right. I do like that you're scouting though. Good shit. Okay, so all of you guys are making way too many units. You guys all need to, I think, in a map like this, if you guys agreed okay, that you would go, okay, so we got 2 walls here, and also I can't stress this enough. Try really hard, Pyramid, to make your wall look exactly like Ned one's, because your wall is so fucked up. And this wall is perfect. This wall is a mess. But if you guys both had a wall like Nanwed's and you added a shield battery with a stalker in the door, you could make like a sentry behind it, which could scout with hallucinated phoenix and shit like that, which would be super good because you could get tons of information super fast. But all 3 of you should be making drones and probes. And you guys are making Zerglings and Zealots right now. And it's that kind of shit only makes sense if you guys are going to attack. Now, 4 Lings is not that big of a deal. 1 Zealot is not that big of a deal. It's not necessary, but it's not that big of a deal because overall it's putting you behind. But again, Teal, Pyramid, your Zealots that's way too many. When all you should be really doing is just whatever your role is going to be, set up for it right now and crank out your economy to set that up as well. Because I'm going to tell you right now, it never makes sense, by the way, ever for one player to be aggressive by himself unless it's harass based, okay? So what that means is if you attack somebody by yourself, the intention of keeping the unit you're attacking with alive is the only way that makes sense. So like, let's just say Pyramid, okay? Let's say you're the guy that goes, you know what? I don't want to expand. I want to go 1 base. That's fine. As long as you're going for like a Stargate and Oracle or like a Robo with like a Prism with a Colossus or like a Disruptor inside of it, or even 2 Immortals where they're not going to die. Like you're not going to just walk across the map with Zealots and have them die is the point I'm trying to say. That's totally fine if you play that way, but it needs to be something that's conservative if you're not going to take economy. Otherwise, you need to take economy. The only way playing this way, where you make a bunch of units that are not conservative, and instead they're just like, yeah, let's fucking fight until I die, like a Zealot or a Stalker or something like that. The only way those kinds of compositions make sense is if you guys all do it together and you all in together. Because this is kind of all in what you're doing right here. That's where it kind of falls into the category of. Because you're definitely not going to be ahead in a macro game now. So you guys all need to synergize that idea together. And now just to get an idea of how you guys are playing, I'm going to kind of speed this up. And I'm going to see what your strategies are as a team.
So I also was asking if it's okay to make the 4 Lings just for, like you said, like I guess either scout harass sort of thing, if that's okay.
So if you actually want to walk out of your base with 4 Lings and you want to go scout them and follow up a scout, I'm totally cool with that. That's totally fine. And like you could, like one of your teammates, whoever it is, whatever side the Zerg decides to go, that Protoss lets the Zerg leave the base, and then the Protoss immediately reseals the wall with a Stalker or something like that. That's totally fine. 4 Lings is such a small investment, and if you argue that it's for a scout, I'm 100% cool with that. But every single additional unit you guys make, if you aren't scouting with it, it's making you fall further and further and further behind. And in a moment like this, where if you go, okay, Zerg is here now, and the other guy, the orange Zerg, enemy Zerg is here. Now he's attacking our base with some speedlings. By now, you guys should have plenty of shit that can defend your walls. And that unit should not be melee. So this is why Zerg going for like mass speedlings doesn't make sense unless you guys are all in, because you guys are walling your base. So the only way you guys can take effective fights now is when your wall's dead. And the whole point is to not let your wall die. You don't want your wall to die. You want your wall to stay alive. So what Zerg should be doing to help in any way would be, like, the best thing Zerg could do here to help out the Protoss on this side would be maybe spread a creep tumor, like right there, and part queen, like pull your queens and attack Zerglings from like right there on the high ground. So like you don't have to put creep on the wall here, but you can put creep on the top here, and you can be like, okay, 3 queens can stand like right there, and just like slap Zerglings off the wall and just help. Or you could put a spine crawler right there if you really wanted to while you're making drones, and then like rush your tech to like roaches. With a good economy, or hydras, or mutas, or something like that would make a lot more sense if you're going to wall off. And that's exactly why zealots are a problem here for you, because all the zealots are going to do is stand there and wait around until your wall's dead, and then they're going to start fighting. And that's already bad for you guys to let your walls just die. And you've also left your wall completely exposed, Pyramid. Don't ever do that. You guys need to have confidence in each other that you're not going to break. Because right now, these guys could literally just go, like, run right in your base. And then now you'd have a problem. And you would just fall apart and die. Because by doing this, over defending one wall, let's just say, like, you're trying to help Nanwan not die here. But you're like, okay, I'm coming, dude. I'm on my way. I'm gonna protect your wall. And then suddenly 30 lings run into the base and go like this. Run right into Nanwen's mineral line. And he's like, well, I'm fucking dead. I know you're trying to save my gateways, but I died anyways. So you guys got to definitely make sure your walls stay sealed. I think that just literally just happened. Or no, it's voids. Okay, but yeah, definitely seal that shit off. Because I know that is a doorway right there. That is scary for you guys.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. So far, from the looks of it, we have Ultra Goat going for Roach Hydra, Macro Roach Hydra. We have Pyramid going for Void Race. And we have...
Well, the voids are in response to the voids I saw that who attacked me, and they're about to attack again. So
okay.
Yeah.
So that's what you just said. I'm gonna assume something here, and you can tell me if I'm right or wrong. But this is a problem if what I'm gonna say is right. You don't have a plan. You're playing reactionary. Like you don't have a you don't.
Yeah, that's pretty close. Because I wanted to go ground, and then I reacted to the void rays and said, okay, Stargate, let's get some air going.
So reactionary,
yeah.
Reactionary play in 1v1 is totally fine. Reactionary play in team games is really terrible. Like you should have set roles amongst your team where you guys all synergize together and you guys all cover certain things that are important, and you can react in a small way where like your role can be the same role it already is, but you just rotated one unit for another to do that. Like for instance, let's just say you were the ground guy. You're like, I'm the ground meat force. I'm the ground brute force. And in reality, that's what blue is this game. That's what your Zerg player is. But let's just say that was your job this game. And you were like, okay, well, I'm making fucking charge lots, guys. And then the enemy team is making mass roaches and like things that mass banelings. And you're like, okay, maybe zealots aren't the best idea here. I wouldn't tell you to now go for like mass carriers or something like that. I'd be like, okay, maybe you should start going for like archons, or maybe you should start going for like colossi with like stalker or something instead of just zealots against banes. Like make something that's a better counter that still controls your like area. Eventually, you guys can all go like mass sky and mass sky toss, mass like broodlord and corruptor. Eventually, that's like not until like supreme in game, because that is like the strongest possible army you guys can all have. But for setup of game, you guys all need to have a role that you kind of stick to. So never free range it and be like, well, I'll just do whatever I feel like. Because if you guys all do that, you're never going to have any synergy as a team at all. Because right now you guys have 2 delayed Skytoss players with a Roach Hydra player. Which, the good thing about Nanman though is, even though his Skytoss is super delayed, because you guys haven't done anything with Skytoss and it's 6.5 minutes, your economy looks pretty decent. You're 3 basing it and you're almost fully saturated on 3 bases. This is not too bad. You could have more. I can tell because you're not chrono boosting your bases at all. You have a fuckload of chrono energy and you could definitely be utilizing that a lot faster. But overall, you have like a pretty decent setup for red Protoss. Teal Protoss, your economy is not great. You have 30 probes right now. Your economy is half as strong as red. And there's no reason for that because you guys haven't done any attacks. You guys have all been defensive. So your build definitely has slowed you down, which we talked about already. And now you guys are both going Stargate, which overall, I'm not going to lie, that is fine. But the thing you got to understand about StarCraft 2 is, that's really, really, really important to know, is you have to understand what your composition is and what, like, is this composition strong now or later? And right now, you guys are making right now, Teal is making Void Rays, Pyramid is making Voids, and Red also has a couple Voids. This is not good for late game. This is good for early game. So the way you guys should be utilizing this 100% is you guys should be doing some harass with these. And if you need to, you can defend your base, but realistically, that should be Blue's job right now. If you guys are both going to go Void Rays, you guys easily could be like, I'll take the left side, you take the right side. If they attack our base while we're not there, we can always recall if we have to. Otherwise, our walls with Hydra Roach can defend our base. Because at the last thing fucking Blue should be doing right now is walking out by himself attacking 3 players with a Roach Hydra army, because Void Rays are not really designed to cover that. Like, you're not going to just try to take fights immediately with Void Rays. That's not how that unit works. Void Rays are supposed to wear their opponent down, like, because that's what they can do. They're so fucking annoying that like they can like fly around, harass, get away, fly around, harass, get away. You want to wear them down with voids before you really take fights. Now, on the other side here, let's just say you guys were going for like carrier, double carrier. Then it would be like, okay, you guys want to probably turtle up and make double carrier and just sit there and have blue. You can turtle up as well, but as soon as you're maxed out, and like the both Protosses who are going carrier are not maxed yet, because carriers take forever to make. Like they take a lot longer to max out on carrier than it does to max out on something like roaches. Then blue could do something that's really annoying by himself. That's like harass based. Like, for instance, instead of blue going, okay, I'm going to walk across the map and go die by myself to 3 people, you could be like, okay, how about I use my overlords and like Nidus worm their bases with roaches and just be super fucking annoying. I'll make 2 Niduses where you can go like 1 here and 1 over here at like the exact same time. And you like harass 2 people at the same time. And are you trying to kill them by yourself? Not necessarily. You're just trying to keep them defensive because your team is going mass carrier, for instance, and you're making it work where like time is on your side, because if you guys get to a point where you have 400 supply of carriers, you're going to have a really hard time dying in that game. Like they're going to have a really hard time dealing with that. So right now it looks like overall, again, blue is ground, red is greedy air, and teal, your role in this team is not as good as it could be. So if you want to go, if it just needs to be something, you don't play reactionary. So if you want to go ground as well, you guys need to play more aggressive. But if you want to go air, you guys can play defensive like you are. It would make more sense for how you're playing. But you need to start expanding as fast as Nanwen does. Like, you should have a 3rd already saturated as well. Definitely, because you're missing an opportunity otherwise. Okay, so like right now, all of you guys should not react to this. This is a ground attack that is hitting blue. And blue is the ground-based player right now. Blue should 100% be able to handle this with his roaches. And if you guys all break off and go help him with that, if, let's just say yellow's going mutas, and mutas go like this, right into your fucking base. That's how you fall apart and break. You guys need to identify like what is capable of what, and these lings are not capable of breaking a ground-based roach player. Like, unless blue is not macroing, essentially, and not doing anything. Blue should be totally fine. They could handle this. But yeah, I'm like afraid for you guys now, because you guys are all overextending yourself to one side of your whole base. So teal is now exposed, and there you go, right? It's exactly what's happening. It's not mutas, but it is void rays. And now teal is going to start falling apart. And if you guys all rotate back and deal with teal, you guys are going to break again back on blue side. Now, if mutas do actually come here afterwards again. So this is why roles are important on a team. You need to identify who is what, and you can't all do the same thing. You can have at most 2 people doing the same thing while 1 person covers the other thing. So what you want to have, to break it down super simple, you want to have late game and early game players. Okay? It's the simplest way we can break down team games. And you want to have 1 or 2 of each, not 3. The only time you can ever have 3 of 1 is if you're all in and you guys are all early game. If you guys all agree and go, okay, guys, let's all in this game. Okay, sure, that's fine. You guys can all 3 of you all in together and try to win the game right away. That works. But if you guys all 3 say, okay, we're all late game players, all 3 of us are going to be late game, and no one's going to fucking make anything until we have Broodlords and Carriers, you're probably going to die. So you have to have some type of build-up that is early game. And just because I say early game, I don't mean you have to make fucking zealots. I mean, like, you'd have to make things like voids, because you can make voids extremely fast in this game, especially if you have a wall like Nedmud's wall here. Like, that wall is literally perfect. I could not give you tips to make that better, literally. But voids are good because it falls into the role that I said earlier, which is harass. You could be scouting and harassing at the same time. And you're not trying to let the void ray die, but you are trying to slow them down, keep them defensive, and you're finding out what they're defending their base with, because they're attacking your void ray with something. So you're getting a read on what their tech is. Is it a Viking, which is a starport? Is it queens and drones, which is greedy Zerg? Is it Hydras? Is it Stalkers? Like, what units are they making? And it tells you guys as a team like what you should be expecting as a team overall, which is just nice to understand like what you're up against overall. But like, for instance, this game, okay, I would say if 2 of you went early game and 1 of you went late game, and then once 1 of you has a strong late game, the other 2 of you transition into late game. That is the best way you could play this. And here's how you would do it, okay? Both Protosses set up the wall like Nanwen did. 1 Protoss, which is Nanwen, goes 3 base super fucking fast. 3 base immediately. And you go Fleet Beacon, you go Stargate, you go Carriers. You literally don't make any Void Rays. You just go straight Carrier. Protoss number 2, Pyramid, you do a wall in just like Nanwen did here for your side. And you both make a Stalker. And Nanwen, you can make a Sentry to like scout around the map with the Sentry. And Pyramid, you could just make your 1 gateway, make like more Stalkers, go up to like a total of like 5 Stalkers overall, just in case they get aggressive really, so you guys will be okay, because you're going to be the more early game player. And what you could do, Pyramid, is you could go 1 gate, expand into a core, with stay on 1 gateway, but then you go for like double Stargate. And you're doing double Stargate anyways. So what you could do is you could go double Stargate, and once you have your Stargates done, you stop making Stalkers and you start making Void Rays on 2 bases. And then once you're fully saturated on 2 bases and you're able to pump Void Rays off of 2 Stargates and you still gain a little bit more money, then eventually take your 3rd base, okay? And then you're fine. So what we have here is we have 1 Protoss who's going heavier on the Void Rays early, and you can now not only defend yourselves, but you can also poke their bases with it. We have another Protoss who's going insanely fucking greedy Carriers. So you're going to be really powerful around like 8 minutes or 9 minutes once you have like 8 Carriers. And then Blue, you just do kind of what you did here, where you just go Roach Hydra and you go 3 base. And you have like, you just crank out Roaches and Hydras off of like a decent economy, like of 3 bases. And you're the early game guy where in case they all in, you have a powerful army to cover if they attack really aggressively, really fast. And if they harass you like shit like this, like Speedling drops, you cover that stuff. And then you're good to go. And then the Protoss player who's going Carriers also defends the base with Carriers once they're out. You don't ever try to like attack with like 2 Carriers. Only the Void Ray player is scouting and attacking, and the guy who has a Sentry can scout with the hallucinated like Phoenix or something. But overall, that would make. Sorry, go ahead. You go.
I was just going to ask, in this situation, should I have kept my like army in the middle of my 3 bases to deal with that harass? Is there any point to keeping it out front by the wall? Or is that just
you should not keep it at the wall. You should definitely keep it around your base, because the reason why is you guys have like a flank you got to cover. You're covering the right side of all of your bases, just like Teal should be covering the left side of all of your bases if you're not going to attack. And attacking is a different story entirely, because if you attack and you keep them defensive, well, that's now your defense, because they're currently defending their base anyways, so you're not getting attacked. But if, let's just say, Teal is actually going to go, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go attack. I'm going to harass with Void Rays. But there's still a chance they could attack us. Red should cover that now. Like, Red should be, like, gearing himself to the left side with his Carriers, if that's what he was going to go for, and defend the left side now, because now, otherwise, Teal is completely vulnerable. And if Teal's vulnerable, that means Red's vulnerable. And if Red's vulnerable, that means Blue is vulnerable on the other side. Like, this 3rd is now vulnerable. And you guys want to make sure you're covering each other's expansions by covering the perimeter of your base properly with each one where you are. So,
got it.
Yeah, the walls here are... The reason why these don't need to be so babysat super hard is because they're walls. Like, they're not open doorways. So this buys you time to react anyways if it becomes a problem. And if you lose 1 gateway and you have to rebuild that because your army was up here and they're actually going crazy aggressive here, but you still get there in time to defend the base after the wall breaks, it is so cheap and easy to replace that little wall in there than it is if your army is standing where the overlords are and suddenly a whole middle line dies and you're like, oh fuck. Well, that's way harder to replace and way more expensive than a gateway and a core. And the same thing could be said about Teal. If you're like all your probes die, it's the same problem. It's way more expensive for your economy to die than it is for your gateway to die. You guys just got to really make sure though that the walls stay blocked the whole time, because that's so scary that you have an open door there. And okay, so I don't know if you guys ever played Counter-Strike, but there's a concept in Counter-Strike that is very applicable to this as well. And just to give you an idea, in Counter-Strike, you would never actually you have like a bomb, like you're defending a base, okay? There's like a bomb site A and a bomb site B, and you're defending, and you're like literally assigned, okay, I'm gonna defend bomb site B, I'm gonna defend bomb site A. But you don't panic when someone arrives at the bomb site and you're like, they're here. If it's like one guy, because you're supposed to be able to like kind of cover that yourself, so you don't create openings elsewhere. You don't actually alert everyone to come over and help until you see everyone else is there, or like the multiple people are there. So if you're defending and you guys are like, let's say you guys are on communication with each other, like microphone, Discord, Facebook, whatever, Blizzard chat. If you guys are talking to each other while you play, and one of you goes, oh, I'm getting attacked right now, but it's one guy, make sure everybody knows that, because you shouldn't freak out and everybody be, panicking and everyone comes over to help against only one guy. So you get like the amount of people that are attacking you also matters, and everybody shouldn't rotate unless you're getting attacked by everybody. So like if there's like 3 players with air flying over here, you actually come defend that as a team, as opposed to if it's only one guy. If you guys all rotate, suddenly that's how teal got fucked, right? You want to definitely avoid that from happening. So if it's just one, you defend with one, and you get, and then you guys, that's why you need to have confidence in each other, and you guys need to have roles where you can like dictate who is better to defend what. So again, blue is the ground player, right? And if let's just say, now we're thinking about counters. Let's just say the front door is getting attacked by siege tanks, and blue is going roaches and hydras. And you guys are like, okay, well, guys, currently we have 2 attacks. Let's say there's tanks in the front of our base, and there is a group of banshees in the back of the base right now with cloak or whatever. You could argue that void rays would be better to deal with the banshees, because banshees can't hit air, which is fine. But you could also say, okay, well, the void rays can also attack the tanks, and the tanks also can't attack air. And now if you think about the other side of it, roaches, or like hydras and a couple roaches or whatever, if you're fighting against tanks or banshees, which one are the hydras going to take a better trade against there? It's probably going to be the banshees, because siege tanks are going to obliterate your ground, as opposed to the banshees you're actually going to be able to put up a fight there. So this is not something I expect you guys to be able to do like today, like immediately, but you guys need to have experience as a team to kind of like identify who's best suited for what job. Like who's going to probably deal with each situation better. And if you're getting multi-pronged, try to have somebody whose army is better suited to defend that, to go defend that, as opposed to just having everybody go defend whatever's there first. So, because like if the roach guy goes to defend mass tanks, you're going to die, probably. And then suddenly, even though you killed the void rays or the banshees with void rays, all the fucking roaches are dead, and you're breaking to the front now because the Zerg player is eliminated, essentially. And you have to like rebuild everything. So that's complicated. I can't really explain that like right now, but that's something that you guys should be actively thinking about, and you guys should be working on that every day you guys play together, because it'll never go away. You guys need to think about who is best suited for what, like, because it all depends on what they do to you. That's why it's impossible to explain right now in like one sentence. But overall, yeah, as long as you guys have roles, you're going to be so much better off, for sure.
I think that what we've been talking about doing is have an ultra goat go in the scout harass role.
Sure.
And then I've gone like late game sky toss a fair amount, not this game but in other games, and then Nanwan has been the kind of the anchor with ground, whether it's Immortal Archon or having High Templar,
Yep.
Storm, because he's got that micro skill there a little bit.
Okay, sure.
But we definitely like the longer macro games. We'll do the all-ins occasionally, but I don't know if you've got some advice as far as like.
Yeah, totally. I already have an idea for your strat you should be doing now with what you just threw out there. So what you guys should do, 100%, this is what you guys should do. With the Ultra Go is Scout Harass. Pyramid is Greed late game. That's, by the way, just so you know, greed is like the biggest synergy with late game. So if you are the late game player, you have to play greedy. If you don't play greedy, it will feel really weak. And then the Nanwen would be the like the ground support, which could eventually become Skytoss as well later on. But you're the dude who has like you're like the hybrid role where you can be harass and you can also be defense and you can be lots of stuff. So this is what you guys should be doing. Pyramid, you would go for a really quick 3 base, really fast fleet beacon with with Stargate, and like probably like 3 Stargates with a fleet beacon and a core just chrono boosting weapon upgrades, and you're going fucking straight carrier. So 3 base early. Your build would literally look like this: Pylon, Gate, Nexus, Core, Stalker, Nexus, Sentry, Stargate. Like you literally go 3 Nexus before even making a Stargate. And then make a Stargate, and then once you make your Stargate, you would make a fleet beacon. And then once you make your fleet beacon, pair that with like 2 more Stargates. And just chrono boost non-stop probe. And as soon as you're done making probes and you're like at 66, non-stop chrono boost your weapon upgrade on your core or your cybernetics core. And just make carriers as fast as you can. And if you're like, okay, I'm starting to get a little bit more money than I can spend here, add on 1 or 2 more Stargates. And you can also, once you get a point where if your minerals start kind of like exploding away from your gas, you could add on a forge and start adding some cannon defense to either the perimeter of your base or to the front of your wall. And you don't gotta go crazy. I'm not telling you to make like 20 cannons. We're talking like 2 or 3 cannons at the front of your base and like 1 or 2 cannons in your mineral line on the edge of your bases. Like this would be fine and this would be fine. So it helps your probes not to die super easy because air harass is super common in team games. So that's kind of how your build would look. And you would literally just aim for going for like a mothership with observers, with mass carriers, and just weapon upgrades. And you could literally not even make any Templars if you didn't want to. You don't even have to, because that could be something that Nanwen does for you, because you guys don't both need to go Templar. You guys are both Protoss, and you don't need to have 2 rounds of Templar. As long as you guys are working together, one of you could go Templar and save yourself the investment of gas for both of you teching the Templar, if that makes sense. Like you guys don't both need to do it. So you could just have pure carrier, like a super powerful carrier army if you wanted to. And then in this army, like the way you guys are playing it, Nanwen, what you would want to do, the way your build would go, is you would totally want to do something like Pylon, Gateway, Nexus, Core. Then you want to probably go for like Stalker and a Sentry so you can scout, and then start going Stalkers again. But as soon as you start going Stalkers again, you'd probably want to go for like 2 more Gateways on 2 bases with a Robo. And then start going into like Colossus. You don't have to go Colossus all game. Just make like literally like 3 or 4 Colossi, and they get Blink. So you can make a Robo, and when you make your Robo Bay, pair that with like a Templar Arc or a Twilight Council. So as soon as you start making Colossus, you start a Blink upgrade, and then you literally make an army that is probably about like 24 to like 30 Stalkers, with like 4 Colossi and maybe an Observer. And then once you have that, now you can take like your 3rd base. And if you really need to, you could also double expand and take your 4th base if you guys have good map control at that point, and then go shift gears into going into Skytoss yourself. But you need that like. Or go ahead, sorry.
Should I cut probes at 4?
Once you're 2 base fully saturated, yeah, 2 base fully saturated, cut probes, because you need. That's why the ground guy is so important. Like you need to have something that's gonna cover the greedy ass Skytoss player, because if you guys both play greedy and they attack, you're gonna die. So like you're basically the backbone of your defense if they all in you before Pyramid has a bunch of carriers. But once Pyramid has like we're talking like 8 carriers, which he should have early because he's playing so greedy. Once he has like that many carriers, what you'd want to do, that's when like you now would be like, okay, that you have like 8 carriers, I have 4 Colossus and like 25 Stalkers. I'm going to go into expansions now and then start making probes again, and I'm going to go Skytoss myself. And you can like slowly lose your Stalker Colossi and then make Mass Carrier yourself too. And if you wanted to as well, you could also use your Templar Archives tech, or your Twilight Council tech, and add on a Templar Archives and go into Storm on top of Carrier. Like you could totally, that could be like your transition. And so you guys wouldn't die early game, and now you could become another powerful Skytoss player late game. And Pyramid as well. If you're like, if you're just cruising and you have a shitload of resources and you're maxed out, this is when you could also feed Nanwan some resources. Give him like 2,000 minerals and like 1,000 gas, so that he could like explode on carriers himself and catch up to your supply faster. And that would be a great way to do it for both of you. And then so that's how Nanwan would want to do it, ideally, with like your comp together. And then finally, Ultra Goat, if you're the harass guy, what you could do as a component of this team is you could go 2 base. Your build could be literally something like, it could rotate based on the map, okay? So if the map is like this, where it's like easily walled off, is what I'm trying to say. There's like no entrances to your base. You're not like, there's no backdoor ramp and you're worried about that. You could just fucking skip Zergling speed altogether and go straight layer and go for a Spire super fast on 2 bases. So your build could be like 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool. And then you could make queens as soon as your pool's done. You'll have a little bit of gas pooling up. You'll probably start your layer at like 190 gas or 180 gas. But it'll be gas that'll be saved up so that you can make a really quick Spire once you have a layer. So you could, again, skip Zergling speed. Just make fucking nothing but drones. Don't even make any lings at all. Just make nothing but drones and queens, because if your teammates are going to wall off the base, and let's say, again, one of your Protoss or maybe both of the Protosses are going to make a sentry to make a Hallucinating Phoenix, so you don't got to worry about scouting anyways. At least Nanwan should be making a sentry here, so that should be your scout early on. Also, you can mix in a probe and also overlords early on too to scout really fast. But you would go 2 base, drones, and overlords. You only stay on 1 gas, okay? 1 gas only until you have like literally 38 to 40 drones. All right. So like what I mean by that is you're staying on 1 gas, 3 out of 3 on 1 gas until you're 16 and until you're 16. And as soon as you hit 16 on both mineral lines, you take all 3 other gases all at once. And as soon as you do that, your layer will be finishing up right around then too. You start all your gases, you saturate them all immediately. You start your Spire, and right when you start your Spire, you take your 3rd base. So it's going to give you extremely fast Mutalisk. And you have to go Mutas, by the way, if you're the harass player as Zerg. You have no other choice. If you don't like Mutas, someone else has to be harass. But if you want to go harass, you have to go Mutas. Because it's the only unit that Zerg has that will actually scout shit. It'll actually force reactions, and it's not going to die doing it. Because if you do anything else, it's all ground based, which means you get zoned out by walls, and it will die as well if it's not Zerglings, because it's not going to run fast enough to get away from shit. And Zerglings aren't going to break shit by themselves either. If like this guy has like a tank or Hellions or whatever, Zerglings are going to run up to the wall and die. So it has to be Mutas. So if you're comfortable with Mutas, then it works. But if you're not, you'd have to like rethink like who does what now, and it'd have to maybe be one of the Protosses going for air early instead. But as long as you're cool with Mutas, like I said, going back to the build, you'd have your 2 base fully saturated, take all your gas, take your Spire, take your 3rd, and then you would saturate your 3rd base as hard as you could. And then as soon as your Spire is done, you spend all of your gas taking as many Mutas as you can. So you'd probably be able to crank out like 11 Mutas or like 10 Mutas at your first round of Mutas that you make. And you're going to be able to make Mutas really fast after that. Behind that, you could go into double Evo metabolic boost upgrade, and you could get melee, and you could get Carapace, and you could stop making Mutas around maybe, like we're talking like 30 Mutas, 25, 30 Mutas. That's a really healthy amount of Muta. But what you could do is you could get an infestation pit. Like, so once you're at the phase where you have all 3 of your bases fully saturated, and you have like 11 Mutas, 12 Mutas, 13 Mutas, and you're just making Mutas on command, you're going to have a lot of minerals that are going to build up faster than your gas. That is when you add on double Evo and your metabolic boost and an infestation pit. Okay. And then as soon as these buildings are done, stop making Mutas for just a second to get 1/1 upgrades, a hive, and your speed upgrade. And then go back to making Mutas again. And stop making Mutas once you have, like, again, like I said, like 25 to 30. It's like a full page and maybe a little bit more of Mutas on the bottom of the list here. Like you can see that I'm looking at right now. Like anything that looks like that. That's like perfect. Okay. For if that was all Mutas. That's great. And you just harass with that as much as you can. But do not rebuild them if they die. Try to keep them alive as long as you can. Because what you could do for like a super powerful transition that would pair well with your teammates could be, once you have a hive, you go Adrenal Gland Lings, you go 2/2 upgrades, you get an Ultralisk Cavern, you can expand again yourself as well, and now you maintain Zergling Harass, which can kill. You become like the guy who throttles expansions. You're like Skytoss and Skytoss. These are the guys that are like the death ball that just slowly rolls the map over and kills everything. But you, as the Zerg player now, you're the guy that prevents your opponents from just taking 20 bases. You're the guy that goes, okay, I'm going to make like 40 fucking Lings go left, 40 Lings go right. I'm going to kill random expansions around the map and make sure these guys aren't playing so greedy. And if they are, you can start adding in ultras to that. Like, so you're going eventually to like 3/3 Adrenal Gland Lings with ultras with chitinous plating and the move speed. So you're just high mobility. So you can run Lings and ultras around the map when your teammates are trying to, max out on Skytoss. But you're not trying to like lose your army. You're just trying to kill expansions and free shit whenever you can. And then once you're ready to take a fight with both your teammates, where they both have maxed out Skytoss and Storm and shit like that, you could have maxed out Ultralisk, like no more Lings at all, just like pure fucking Ultra, and you're like a ground just like destruction that follows in with your Skytoss teammates. And if you really wanted to, you could mix in some spellcasters if you're comfortable with it, like you could mix in a couple Viper if you really wanted to, or a couple of Infestors for some fungal growth or some parasitic bomb. But if you're not comfortable with that, it's totally fine. You don't have to do that. You could just go mass ultras, and you could be the guy that runs over the ground entirely. That's what.
For shorter maps, is it worthwhile to pump out like 20 Lings in the early game and use that as like a harassed scout type?
Don't do it. Nope. You shouldn't.
Okay.
The reason why you shouldn't do it is because that takes away the priority of your Muta, and the more you do that, the less effective your Mutas will feel. Because especially in team games, like you're gonna play against a lot of players that are gonna do shit where they're gonna do exactly what you said. They're gonna be like, well, I'll just make like 4 zealots, kind of like what Pyramid did this game, and then I'll go Stargate. And if you're like, you know what, I'm not gonna fucking waste any time. I'm gonna go pure Muta right away. And you get to this guy's base right away, and let's say this guy, instead of going Voids, he was like, I'm gonna go Phoenix. You'd want to get there when he has like 0 or 1 Phoenix because you prioritized it, rather than getting there like 1 minute later or like 90 seconds later because you made a bunch of Lings early on and you got speed really fast and you delayed your economy like crazy and you delayed your layer. Like all of your shit got delayed because you went for a bunch of Lings early to poke around. And then suddenly when your Mutas arrive, now this guy would have had 0 or 1 Phoenix, but now he has like 5. And you're like, oh shit, guys, I'm not doing any damage with my Mutas. So it's huge. You want to definitely pace that kind of. You want to have your job and you want to pace it as fast as you can, which is exactly like Pyramid. Going back to you, if you did the Skytoss thing I said, that's why if you remember what I said a second ago, where I was like, you'd want to go 3 base before you go Stargate. You don't want to go 1 base Stargate and then expand because your goal is to pump out resources first and then spend them later, because your army is not going to cost you 700 minerals and 300 gas and then you're done. Your army is going to cost you 12,000 minerals and 8,000 gas and then you're done. So your army is incredibly expensive, so you want to prioritize getting that money going as soon as possible so you can afford it. So like each one of you has a job and you want to prioritize doing your job as fast as you can and the most efficient way you can possibly do that. So yeah, you, as a harass guy, you definitely want to make whatever harass tool you're going to use, which should totally be your Mutas early game. Lings are good late game. Once you don't really give a shit about what they're doing, because like, so you might be thinking to yourself as well, like when if you say, I want to make Lings so I can also not only harass them, but I also can scout them maybe. But that's also the job that comes from the Protoss who goes for a sentry. That dude should be hallucinating a Phoenix and helping you with that by revealing what they're doing for you. And he also could, like, here's the thing too. Whoever makes the Phoenix with hallucination with the sentry, you should tell the Zerg player who is weak on the side. You should be scouting the sides of the base, the perimeters, and you should be going, hey, Zerg teammate, you should go right. Or Zerg teammate, you should go left. Because that guy looks like he's fucking way weaker. Hit the weaker guy where you can guarantee more damage. So you guys need to all synergize. Like, again, everything matters. And that sentry scout is so much better at scouting than Zerglings would be. And that Sentry Scout doesn't slow down how fast your mutas come out. It actually speeds it up because you're not wasting time. So about all that, do you guys have any questions about that way you guys, way I think you guys should be kind of like working together there?
I think it makes sense in general. One quick question was for the Sky Toss. Do you recommend just straight carrier or should we mix in best?
I think that whoever goes 3 base should just go straight Sky Toss. The only time you should ever not do that is if you guys want to have 2 harass players. Which is, remember how I was saying you guys could have 2 out of 3 of something, but never 3 out of 3, unless it was all in. If you guys wanted to have 2 harass players, you totally could do that. Which means you could have instead of going straight carrier, you could have Pyramid go for like voids and get like Void Ray speed, and you would delay Sky Toss. But the way that could be effective would be it would allow the Stalker Colossi player to now not be so defensive, and you could now be aggressive as well, because all 3 of you could be aggressive. And you could also allow it would give you guys more opportunities to do damage, but the big thing you would need to understand there is you need to do damage now for it to be effective. Because if you guys go for multiple forms of aggression and you do no damage, you're gonna die. Because your armies are gonna be weaker than they should be. Like voids are not as good as carriers. I'm just gonna throw it out there and say that right now. Like they're good units. But if you have an army of full carrier versus an army of full Void Ray, the Void Rays are going to die to so many more things than the carriers would. Like the carriers are just overall a beefier, meatier, stronger, just blob of a move. Like they're just better. So you would need to be really careful about that. And it would need to be something where you guys need to like really coordinate damage together well to make it worthwhile doing that. And if you did that, I would say, Pyramid, you could totally make like, I would say stop making Void Rays at like 10 voids. And then go into carrier. Either way, no matter what, after that, go into carriers. Because if you make like 25 Void Rays, you're putting yourself in a really tight spot. That's going to be really bad. Like you would need to break them with voids for that to work then.
So say we're turtling and we're following this build. Are we attacking at when the first of us gets to 200,
No.
or
Nope.
is there some timing?
You're attacking when all of you are maxed out on your death ball. So Zerg has 2 options, which is Mass Spire or Mass Ultra. You could do either one. The Ultra one's nice because if you have the only reason why I recommend Ultras, by the way, is because if you guys are both going to max out on carrier, which is when you should attack, by the way, you shouldn't attack when one of your Pronosses has a lot of Stalkers and a lot of Colossus. So Nanwen, before you guys attack, you would want to sacrifice all those units. Like you want to keep them alive until Pyramid is really fucking strong, and then once Pyramid's really strong and you need supply to make more carriers with, and more like Templars or whatever, you would start sacking your Stalkers and your Colossi. Just go get rid of like suicide mission them so they kill shit but also die, and then you replace with carrier again on top of that. But then once both of you have max carrier, both of your armies are incredibly slow, which is why I was saying it probably would synergize better with how slow your guys' armies are if you synergized with a ground-based Zerg death ball rather than an air, because that increases now mobility for you as a team, which allows you guys to still punish like greedy ass expansions from your teammate or from your enemies, because Zerg can punish that. And then Zerg, whenever Zerg goes, here they are, they're over here. You guys can all like be like target acquired, and then go to that direction and attack with your death ball of air, and then Zerg can support that. But if you guys want to as well, you totally can have Zerg go for a Spire, like beyond Mutas, and just go Corruptor Broodlord, and have Zerg like go for its own version of death ball air with you, or like just mass Corruptor if they have a lot of air too. So you could have the Zerg player just like pummeling the fucking battle cruisers or the carriers or the Tempest or whatever from the enemy team. But the only problem with that is now, again, you guys have less tools at your disposal to punish expansions from your enemy, from the enemy team. That's what Zergling Ultra does really well there. So, but yeah, you guys do not attack until both Protoss players are 200 supply with Death Ball, and that does not mean Stalker Colossus. That means Carrier, Templar, stuff like that, Archon, units like that.
What's a good timing for me if I'm doing that quick Mutalist build, trying to get 11 out? What would be a good target time to start harassing or get those 11 Mutas out to know I'm doing a good job?
If you have mutas out before 7 minutes, you're doing a good job. If you have mutas, like we're talking like 10 mutas out before 7 minutes, yeah, that's a good job.
Okay.
If you have your third base up as well before like 8 minutes, you're doing a great job. Like you should, your third base should be really quick with your mutas, because like you should be having the third base being saturated while your spire is being made. So like again, because you don't want to start your third base too fast, because then you're going to severely delay the two base meter pressure. So your harass would be super late. So it's two base spire into a third while you have already started the spire. And then yeah, if you could do those like under 7 minutes, and you're like already have mutas out on the map, you're doing a really good job. So that definitely would be your threshold there. And then I would say probably for like for you pyramid, if you could max out on carriers before 13 minutes or like maybe 13:30, you're doing a really good job. And then Nanwen, you should be able to have like your 20 plus stalkers, 25 stalkers, whatever, and your Colossus as well by like probably around the same time as like 13 minutes, like around the time when ideally pyramid would want to be close to max or maxed. You'd want to have your Colossi and your Stalker army. You'd have no Stargate stuff yet, but that's when you'd want to transition. So you'd want to be transitioning into Skythos probably around 13 minutes, maybe 14 minutes. That's when you start transitioning, and then that's when you'd also want to like double expand. And then so you don't run out of money, because you're going to run out of money otherwise. So you probably want to double expand there. And then you'd make some more probes with it. You guys extend the reach of your base, control more of your base now, because you're going to be taking more bases forward. So you guys want to like really make sure you control that together. Control your perimeter just like you were before. And then you guys should be all maxed out on mass Skytoss by probably 18 minutes. So Nanwen, that means you have probably like 5 minutes to max out on Skytoss. Rough, maybe like 19 minutes, 5 or 6 minutes for you. So if we're talking like 13 or 14 minutes is when you start going Skytoss. 5 or 6 minutes later after that, you are ideally going to be maxed out. And that the only way that should be able to be done, by the way, is Pyramid, you should help him a little bit by feeding him a little bit. And Zerg should have a standalone economy, because you're going to be having your own costs that are going to be expensive. Whether you make Spire or whether you make Ultra Ling, it doesn't matter. Either way is going to be expensive, because you're making like 25 to 30 mutas into either Ultras with Ling or Corruptor. And just so you know too, this is actually something you should do either way, Ultra Goat. Whether you go Ultra or whether you go Corruptor behind the muta, you should still do Lings either way, okay? The only difference is, this is important, so you don't waste your gas. If you go Ultra Ling, go double Evo with Carapace and Melee. If you go Corruptor behind Muta, go single Evo with just Melee. And then you would just not get Ultras, and you would just not get Carapace. Instead, you would be getting Corruptor upgrades, like Carapace on your Spire for Corruptor. And then no matter what, either way, whether you go for a Corruptor style or whether you go for an Ultra style, still get Metabolic Boost and Adrenal Glands later on in the game, like once you have 3 base. So that you can still perform Zergling counterattacks on like crazy ass greedy enemy teams. Because you guys definitely need to use Lings, I would say, on your team. Because double carrier is really powerful, but it's really fucking slow. So at least Lings, either way you play it out, allow you to punish like greedy bases from your opponents. Because if you send like 50 Lings around the map, and you have level 3 melee Adrenal Lings running around to kill shit, they're going to just decimate bases and stop your opponents from being so greedy. And it doesn't mean your carriers have to fly around for 5 minutes either way, going back and forth, trying to kill bases. Which definitely sucks. You want to make sure your carriers are like locking onto where their army is, and you're killing their armies. They're not just flying around you and circumventing you and killing your base. And you're always playing this like turn around, run home game. You know what I mean? Like that's the worst for a slow army.
If if I notice late game they're all going air and I'm going to do corruptors, does it make sense to drop down a second spire to
No,
pump out
nope.
more?
No. You just do single spire and
Okay.
just only do carapace upgrades. So you should go for a weapon upgrade with your Muta, okay? Get level 1 weapons every single time when you go Muta. Do it every time. But then but after you get level 1 weapons on Muta, by then with your scout between all three of you and you harassing, you should have an idea whether you want to go corruptors now or whether you want to go ground now. And it's based on if they're all ground, you go ultras. If there are a lot of air over there, go corruptor. So if you're like fighting like double fucking Phoenix Protoss or something, probably go corruptor. If they have like a bio and they have stalkers with blink and they have like a Zerg going hydras, probably go ultralisk. And just use your judgment, like whatever you think makes sense. Whatever they have more of, ground or air, make ultras or corruptors according to that. And if you're wrong, it doesn't really matter because as long as they have something, you're still going to be effective there. So don't worry about it too much. Just try to make your best judgment. But the way you should do your upgrades should be get level 1 weapons on your Mutas. If like no matter what, every single time. And then if you're going to go for corruptors, stop getting weapon and go all the way to level 3 carapace on your spire. And then once you got level 3 carapace, go back and start doing weapons again. And the reason why is because if you're going to go mass corruptor, you're going to be you should be focus firing like big units. You shouldn't just concave a move. You should be trying to pick off like battlecruisers or carriers or Tempest, something like that. You shouldn't be just a moving. So what will happen there? The reason why it's super good is because if you focus fire the big important shit out of their army, your corruptors are actually going to be like the damage, like the beat shield for your guys' total army. And a corruptor is actually incredibly tanky because it has high base armor. And if you stack it with armor upgrades, it's going to absorb damage really well, which means that even if all your corruptors die, it almost guarantees that your carrier army behind it is going to win the fight because it's going to buy so much time for your carriers to just pummel through the army. It'll be like really, really powerful for both of you together to synergize that way. And then if you're also picking apart like their carriers or their battlecruisers or whatever on top of that, you're going to make it so easy for the carriers to just punch through and win the game. But if you want to go for... if you're going to go corruptor, level 1 air weapons into level 3 air carapace, and then you can go back and finish off level 2 and level 3 air weapons for a corruptor style. But if it's going to be a ultralisk Zergling style, use your best judgment again to go no matter what level 1 weapons. And if you're doing a really good job with mutas and you have a lot left over when level 1 weapons is done, start level 2 weapons so that your mutas can continue to be more effective. But if you lost a lot of mutas and you're starting to transition into Ling Ultra, don't even bother wasting gas on more Spire upgrades. Just stop. And just only invest in the ground upgrades and Ultras and shit.
Yep.
And then there you go. And then Protosses, both of you should be going for only a single core and going level 1, 2, 3 air weapons all the way up. And then once you're done with that, then you can go level 1, 2, 3 armor. Do not get double core. And both of you should eventually make a forge. Pyramid, your forge should go down probably around like 7 minutes or 8 minutes. And Nanwen, your forge should go down probably around like 13 minutes. You should put your forge down when you start making your transition to Skytoss. And so you guys can both get shield upgrades for your air as well. But so it's literally just one forge, one cybercore. And you go weapons and shields first. And then once you're done with those, you just get level 3 armor on air afterwards. And don't even worry about getting a forge, Nedwin, for your Colossus Stalker. Because again, if you're going to go defensive Skytoss, you don't really need weapon upgrades for your ground. It doesn't matter. It's just a transition. It's just to make sure you guys don't die. It's not going to be like a future investment. Feel good? How you guys feeling?
Awesome. And if we're just real quick, because I know we're running out of time here, but if we were going to go all in, I like to go 4-gate Stalker rush.
Sure.
One base. I know like Non-1 is sometimes done in the Immortal Century all in. Ultra Go goes Ling sometimes. But is there like a better composition you think for PPZ team to do a very fast early all in?
Yeah. So an idea that you guys should think about is you should think about synergy of time with your builds, and automatically the first two things you said don't synergize very well, which is 4-gate Stalker with Immortal Sentry. Immortal Sentry hits way later than 4-gate Stalker, so that wouldn't synergize very well. Instead, what you'd probably want to do would be like a 3-gate Blink with Immortal Sentry, if that's how you wanted to play it out, so that you could have a faster Blink Stalker, and it would pair better with the same time that your Immortal Sentry player would want to go all in as well. It would hit a little later, but it would give your Stalkers so much more viability because they have Blink mobility now, and it makes them way more effective. So that would need to be the case there. Either you would have to go for a Blink Stalker style all in with Nanwen, or Nanwen would have to go for something faster than like Proxy Robo to go with your 4-gate all in Stalker without Blink. So those would be how you guys would synergize that together. If you want to actually go Immortal and Stalker there together. And then Ultra Goat, I would say he could totally go for mass speedlings is totally fine. You could hybrid in some bailings with it if you wanted to. You could get a melee upgrade as well. Like a melee upgrade would go really well if you guys went for Sentry Immortal plus 3-gate Blink plus +1 melee, like 3 hatchery, 2 base mass speedling flood, and you stop mining gas once you've mined out 200. So because you don't need any more, you're gonna waste it otherwise. So you just get all your drones on minerals. And you just, like I said, you just have the metabolic boost and the +1 melee, and then you're done. And you're just cranking out fucking lings on like 3 hatchery, 3 queen off of maybe like 30 drones or like 26 drones, which is like either two basically fully saturated mineral lines or close to that, like 1.5 or something. And then you're just making lings all day. You're flooding. That would be a great build to go together for the delayed version. But if you guys wanted to go for like a super aggressive, really fast all in, you could do Proxy 4-gate with if you go 4-gate, don't proxy it. Just proxy like a pylon. You could go 4-gate at your base, proxy a pylon near Nanwen's proxied Robo. You're going Stalkers off of 1 fully saturated base. Nanwen is going for 1 fully saturated base as well. Blue is going for, no matter what, you always go for an expansion. But I'm not going to bounce with you guys. I'll just break them down one by one so it's not confusing. So the super, super, super really fast all-in aggression version. Pyramid, go 4-gate. You save Chrono Boost for your Warp Gate tech. Only do Warp Gate tech Chronos. That's it. Don't Chrono Boost your gateways. Do not Chrono Boost your Nexus. Just Chrono Boost Warp Gate and call it a day. And then you once you start your 4 gates and once you start your core, like all that shit's already like building. Once you do that, take a probe, run across the map, and run it over to where the proxy of Nanwen is and build a pylon next to it. And then you can also build like a 5th gateway there. And then just literally have that be your warp in speed. And you're good to go. And that's all you're going to do. And then once you're done chrono boosting warp gate, you can start chrono boosting your gateways if you need to warp in shit. And then that'll be just warp in Stalkers nonstop and all in with it. Nanwen, what you would do is you would build 1 gateway at your base and like a pylon. And right when you start your core at your base, okay, you would build, like you would run across the map to go build a pylon wherever you need it to be like not scouted. You need it to be hidden, okay? You want it to be proxied. You want to proxy a Robo and a 2nd gateway there. When your core is done, start warp gate, but do not chrono boost it. Just save your chrono energy. And when your Robo's done, spend every single fucking chrono you have into chrono immortal, non-stop. And then use 2 gateways, the one you made back at your base and the one you made aggressively at your proxy. Eventually your warp gate's going to be done. Just use your excess money to complement your immortals with either Sentry, probably not Sentry because you're only on 1 base, so you're not going to have a lot of gas for that. Probably Stalker or Zealot to complement your immortals. If you have a lot of gas extra, do some Stalker. If you're really tight on gas for your immortals, do some Zealot and call it a day. And that's like your version of like super aggro. And if you really want to, if you have like a little bit of extra money again on top of that, you can actually proxy shield batteries with your probe. So proxy shield battery plus Robo. Like for instance, let's just say this is a guy's base. Okay, let's say this is where one of his bases are, and let's say you proxy to Robo right there. You could actually make 2 mortals, a warp prism, and you can proxy a pylon right there and put batteries on the wall, And you could literally load up your prism and land right on the fucking mineral line and start killing his base with batteried immortals with a prism. And then you could keep making immortals with and stalkers and shit and zealots with it. And you could be really annoying here with battery. And you can send the rest of your immortals and your zealots and stalkers in with your teammate that's going 4-gate and the Zerg over elsewhere to like attack their main base or whatever. So you yourself could create a super annoying fucking like multi-prong because you have a prism, which could make these immortals never die. And the battery, like 1 or 2 batteries could be back there just healing them up too, which is super annoying. And then if you wanted to, you could like regroup with your army over there with your teammates and like bring the prism immortal over there. You don't have to do the prism thing. It's just a cool idea that you could create such an annoying problem for your opponents with, and it'd be an interesting way to really utilize your proxy. And then again, Pyramid, that's where you would put your proxy pylon and gateway, by the way, next to his proxy, so you could both could have fast weapons at the same spot. So you're also not isolating your proxies. You want to have them like really well defended so that the immortals can also defend the proxy as well. Makes it really hard for the proxy to die if the immortals are nearby, and they can always go back and defend it in case they try to counter it. And like when you guys are like over here or some shit. And then finally for Zerg, for this super all-in version of it, what you would go for probably would be something like you could go for like a 16 hatch, 18 gas, 17 pool, and then you just go for like speedlings. You could leave 3 drones on gas, get a baneling nest, and just go massling bane off of about like 23, 24 drones. So you could have 1 fully saturated gas, 1 fully saturated mineral line. Your natural could have like 6 drones and just go massling bane from there. And then have 1 queen per hatchery, so 2 queens in total. And then if you don't want to do that, if you're like, I don't like link bane, you could just go, you could go link roach if you wanted to as well. And if you were like, no, I hate all of that. I fucking hate roaches and I hate banelings. You could stop mining gas, and you could just not have a +1 melee upgrade. You could get a 3rd base at a 3rd location like this, and you could have 3 hatcheries on like 24 drones only mining minerals, and you could just make masslings and just call it a day with masslings. That would also be fine. So you could have gas options or no gas options, but don't go for melee with the super all-in version because it takes way too long to get it. It'll like the attack will be over by the time you're like upgrades done, and it doesn't do anything. So how you guys feel about that? You guys like that, or what are you thinking?
Yeah, it sounds great. I definitely want to try that Muta into Ultralisk build. That should be definitely a different way to play.
Yeah, it's definitely just prioritize the mutas because you're the harass guy, and you'll have way more success with it. And what you should be aiming for too when you do that is don't try to like kill one guy outright. Just start on one guy. Whoever, again, the Protoss player ideally who has a Sentry hallucination, he should ideally tell you what side is probably weaker, or your overlords could do the same thing. Be like, okay, this guy seems less defended than that guy over there, because my overlords see something that's more exposed. Like automatically, Terran and Protoss are more exposed than Zerg because Zerg has Queen. So, like once you have enough mutas, like 12, 13, 14, 15 mutas, you'll be able to kill a Queen no problem. But then on top of that, if he has like a spore is way scarier for mutas specifically than like a cannon or a turret. Like a spore is fucking scary as shit for you because it does bonus to biological and it hits really fast. So ideally what you'd want to do is hit whoever you feel is weakest with your mutas first. Kill a bunch of probes. Don't be OCD about it and have to feel like you have to kill every single one of them. Like don't waste a bunch of time chasing down like 2 or 1 worker somewhere where it's running away from you or something. Just kill as many as you can. Really wipe the mineral line really fast and then move on to the next one. And then move on to the next one, and then move on to the next one. Just literally, instead of killing like if you have like 30 seconds to kill workers, instead of being meticulous and killing like 15, be sloppy and kill like 35. Because we're not trying to kill the whole mineral line every time. Just kill like a clump and move on. And if you do that repeatedly on all of their bases, and you work on the side that's weakest first, you get good scout that way, and you also get really juicy fucking connections every time with your first round of shots. So you kill more workers that way. As long as your mutas aren't running in to die. Obviously, keeping them alive because you're harassing is the most important part. So if diving means they're going to die, don't do that. Just dive if you're like, wow, this is going really well. I'll dive again. I'll dive again. You can keep diving then. And you're like, just keep going base to base to base and then eventually get out the other side. And be like, wow, guys, we just killed like 30 probes or 30 workers. That was pretty good. They're really behind now. And they're all making static D now as well. after losing all those workers, they're super far behind, which means us going Sky Toss has like no chance to lose now. Stuff like that would be a great way to play it out. Just maximizing your priority of what you're killing. And that would go for a Void Ray player as well, by the way. You'd want to kill workers. Alright, guys. I know we kind of paused the replay, but that's just how a team game's going to go, right? Like, there's so much theory crafting. But do you guys have any questions? Are you guys feeling good? What are you thinking?
I'm looking forward to 9-1 being extremely annoying with that Immortal Prism on the mineral line.
Yeah. And be like, you guys can like think about it as well. Like if you have your job, whatever it is, if you think about another creative way to do your job in whatever way that seems interesting, that's like you totally can. You can definitely come up with some ideas. Just the only thing I don't want you guys to do is the creative ideas about how you want to be aggressive. Make sure whatever golden rule that you have, make sure that you're still following that rule. So the idea I gave you with Battery Immortal here, it works with your all-in version because it's just another way to be really annoying and really aggressive, and it's just another form of aggression that's going to create more problems for your opponent. Like you're investing like minimal effort to creating maximum problem for your opponent, and it's a good way that synergizes it. But like for instance, if you were to say, okay, how about I do the Immortal fucking Prism thing when my teammate is going greedy Sky Toss and the other guy is going for, like greedy fucking Mutas. It's not going to go very well then because it's not synergizing with anything and it's just going to slow down whatever you're trying to go for otherwise. So as long as it makes sense with your team synergy as to what you're doing, then it's fine. And that's also another reason why I was saying like the whole Zergling thing for Zerg is to not go Zerglings and delay the Mutas. The Zerglings aren't paired with anything. The Zerglings would be just going out there by themselves, which is why they're going to get probably nothing done. So you're just better off, if you're going to only be by yourself over there, just getting a unit that's more self-sufficient like a Mutalisk. So just think about it like that. Think about what your role is, and your role is like your role is your goal, and how do I accomplish that the best? And what unit provides that, and what economy type provides that the best. So like, again, that's also why I told you, Pyramid, make sure you're fucking taking a third base before you take your Stargate, even though your job is to go Sky Toss. Because if your goal is to sit here defensively for 13 minutes, you don't need to get a carrier really fast and have a weak economy. You need to have a really good economy so you can make carriers really fast, because instead of making one carrier really fast, you'd rather make 3 carriers just a tiny bit slower, because it's going to ultimately lead to a faster max out because you have more money to spend. So think about it like that as much as you can. Obviously, there's a lot of complicated shit about StarCraft, so I don't expect you guys to be perfect about it. Just try to think about your goal and how do you achieve your goal the best. All right, guys. I guess, much love. I'll have this as a VOD for you. Each one of you, if you wouldn't mind, send me a message privately on Discord. Just that you can like double click my name and like send a message. And that way I can send you guys each individually the VOD of what this was. I'll send it to you by tomorrow. Because I'll later tonight when I'm done streaming, I'll upload it. And I will, I'll post it to you guys. And as long as one of you message me, I guess you guys can share it with each other. That also works. But it'll just be a YouTube link. But yeah, dude, guys, thank you for doing it, man.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Vibe. This is really great.
Yeah, thank you. I learned a lot.
All right, have a good.
Yeah, appreciate all the good content, man. Keep it up. Thank you.
Yeah, dude, Pyramid, thank you, man. And shout out to the boys. It's awesome you guys are playing threes together. It's sick, and you guys all have like the goal to like improve your team play so you can just fucking destroy other teams harder and get a higher rank together. That's cool. I think that's badass. So guys, I'll see you next time, or I'll everybody watching, I'll see you guys on the next video, whatever it is. But yeah, good luck, Nanwine, Pyramid, and Ultra Go. Thanks for doing it, boys. I'll see you later.
All right, thank you. Have a good night.
All right, I just left the call. Chat, thanks for hanging out. people watching the video, thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something. Yep, this has been a little bit of a breakdown on team play for StarCraft 2. Good luck in your own games if you apply anything here. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace, guys.